Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the corporate world. And today we've got a really interesting one, a quarterly report from Community Health Systems, Incorporated, a company that runs a whole lot of hospitals, and it's filing for the period ending the 30th of September 2025. Get ready because this one has some big shifts and some numbers that really tell a story. So before we dive in, if you appreciate getting straight insights from these corporate disclosures, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out. Also, if you want to chat about these findings with other finance enthusiasts, check out our Discord community linked in the description below. Alright, let's get into it. This filing from Community Health Systems, Incorporated, or CHS as we will call it, is a look at their performance over the first 9 months of 2025 and the last 3 months of that period. It gives us a snapshot of where they stand financially. Now, looking at the income statement for the 3 months ending the 30th of September 2025, things took a significant turn for the better. We see income from operations bounce back to $243 million compared to a loss of $205 million in the same period last year. That is a huge swing. This is a key indicator of how well the core business is performing before accounting for things like interest payments and taxes. Drilling down further on that income statement, we see net income was $171 million for the 3 months ending the 30th of September 2025. Contrast that with a net loss of $355 million for the same period in 2024. That is an incredible improvement and shows the company is much healthier financially this quarter. And when we talk about what trickles down to the actual shareholders here, the picture is also much brighter. Net income attributable to the stockholders was $130 million for the 3 months ending the 30th of September 2025. This is a massive jump from a net loss of $391 million in the comparable period of 2024. It seems the company has really turned a corner in terms of profitability. Now let's shift over to the balance sheet, which gives us a snapshot of the company's assets, liabilities, and equity at a specific point in time. Looking at the condensed consolidated balance sheets as of the 30th of September 2025 compared to the 31st of December 2024, we see a few interesting shifts. Total assets went from $14.054 billion at the end of last year down to $13.239 billion as of the 30th of September 2025. This decrease is largely driven by a significant reduction in long-term debt, as we will see later on, but also some changes in goodwill. Overall, it suggests some streamlining and possibly asset sales. This is a big one, folks. Long-term debt dropped considerably from $11.432 billion at the 31st of December 2024, down to $10.589 billion by the 30th of September 2025. This reduction is a direct result of some major debt refinancing activity that definitely warrants a closer look. Moving on to the cash flow statement, this tells us where the company's cash came from and where it went. For the first 9 months of 2025, cash from operating activities was $277 million compared to $264 million in the same period of 2024. This is a modest increase showing ongoing stable cash generation from their core hospital operation. Now for investing activities, the picture is quite different. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, they generated a whopping $705 million in cash from investing activities. This is a massive swing from the $132 million used in investing activities in the same period of 2024. This huge positive inflow is largely due to significant proceeds from selling off hospitals and other business operations. Flip that to financing activities and we see a substantial outflow of cash. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, financing activities used up $896 million. This is a huge increase from the $137 million used in the same period of 2024. This indicates a lot of debt repayment or restructuring is happening. Let's look at one of the core accounting policies, revenue recognition. CHS records its net operating revenues based on estimates of what it expects to receive from patients, insurance companies, and government programs like Medicare and Medicaid. They have to make assumptions about payment rates, and these can change based on contracts and audits. They also provide charity care for those who cannot afford to pay, and this is a significant part of their operations with an estimated value of $1.061 billion for the 9 months, ended the 30th of September 2025. The company has been actively divesting some of its hospitals. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, they reported a gain of about $242 million from these sales and impairments. This gain comes from selling 4 hospitals for a decent profit and also some smaller impairment charges. In contrast, the same period in 2024 saw an expense of $294 million, mainly due to impairment charges on hospitals they deemed held for sale. This active portfolio management is changing the shape of the company. Now let's circle back to that long-term debt because the company has been busy. On May 9th, 2025, they issued $700 million of 10.75 0% senior secured notes due 2033. They used the money from this to pay off all of their 8% senior secured notes due 2027. They also completed a tender offer buying back a large portion of their 6.875% senior unsecured notes due 2028, and that was not all. On the 12th of August 2025, they issued another massive $1.790 billion of 9.75 0% senior secured notes due 2034. The bulk of that funding went towards buying back nearly all of their 5.625% senior secured notes due 2027. These debt maneuvers significantly restructured their debt profile, lowering interest costs and extending maturity dates, which is generally a sign of financial strengthening. However, it also created about a $33 million pre-tax loss from early extinguishment of that debt. For investors concerned about how the company values its financial instruments, you can see here that most of their debt is not valued at fair value, but rather at its carrying amount, which is common practice. However, for things like investments and available for sale debt securities, their fair value is readily observable in the market. Looking at the stockholders' equity section, it is interesting to note that as of the 30th of September 2025, the company shows a stockholders' deficit. This means the liabilities are greater than the assets owned by the stockholders. Specifically, it is a deficit of about $1.274 billion. This might sound alarming, but it is not uncommon for companies with significant debt. The important thing is their ability to manage that debt and generate income. Now for earnings per share, which is a crucial metric for investors. For the 3 months ended the 30th of September 2025, basic earnings per share was $0.97 and diluted earnings per share was $0.96. This is a huge comeback from the prior year's periods where they reported significant losses per share. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, they reported earnings per share of $2.99 basic and $2.97 diluted. This confirms the positive trend seen in the net income figures. Community Health Systems operates in a single reportable segment, which is hospital operations. This means all their hospitals and related health entities are grouped together. This simplifies how they report their financial performance to the chief operating decision maker. On the revenue side, net operating revenues for the 3 months ended the 30th of September 2025 were $3.087 billion, down slightly from $3.090 billion in the same period of 2024. However, on a same-store basis, meaning for hospitals operated throughout both periods, their revenue actually increased by 6%. This indicates strong performance from their existing facilities. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, revenues were $9.379 billion, up slightly from $9.369 billion in 2024. Again, same-store revenues saw a healthy increase of 5.5%. This line item really highlights the company's strategic moves. For the 9 months ended the 30th of September 2025, they reported a gain of $242 million from selling businesses. This is a positive sign showing they are actively managing their portfolio, perhaps shedding underperforming assets and focusing on core operations. Now, for some potential risks, CHS is facing ongoing investigations from the Department of Justice. One investigation concerns utilization review in patient admissions and inpatient dialysis practices at their hospitals based on allegations from a former employee. Another criminal investigation involves a former medical director of a behavioral health unit at one of their affiliates. While the company states they are cooperating fully, these investigations can lead to significant costs and penalties if not managed properly. The company is flagging a lot of potential risks in their forward-looking statements. They mention things like general economic conditions, changes in healthcare policy, like the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid reforms, and their substantial debt obligations. They also point to the impact of cybersecurity threats and the possibility of impairments in the value of goodwill and other assets. These are all important factors an investor should consider. Now for my take, Community Health Systems has seen a significant turnaround in its financial results. The improved profitability and strong cash flow from operations coupled with a major reduction in debt are very positive developments. The strategic divestitures are streamlining the company and likely sharpening its focus. The increase in same-store revenues suggests their core business is performing well. However, it is not all smooth sailing. The ongoing government investigations are a cloud of uncertainty and could lead to unexpected costs. Their substantial debt, although reduced, still represents a significant financial obligation. The healthcare industry is also constantly evolving with regulatory changes and reimbursement pressures that the company needs to navigate carefully. Overall, THS appears to be on a much stronger footing than a year ago. The debt restructuring is a prudent move, and the improved operational performance is encouraging. While risks remain, the company is demonstrating a clear path towards greater financial stability and profitability. We should definitely keep an eye on how these divestitures and debt management strategies continue to play out and how they manage the ongoing regulatory landscape. Alright, that is our breakdown of Community Health Systems Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think the debt reduction and improved profitability are enough to overcome the risks? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings just like this. And again, don't forget to check out the Discord community linked in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.